Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live episode of the Back to the Bible broadcast. It's been a while. Did you miss us?
It's been a long day.
Did you miss us?
We definitely missed you.
Yeah.
Micah here with you alongside Jordan and Reece. What's that feedback?
It's Jordan.
No way. It's me.
No way.
I turned it down.
What's that Taylor Swift song? Hi, it's me. I'm the
Yeah.
problem. It's me.
Hi, is me.
All right. Now
Not that I know, but anyways.
now we got that
Manly
right down.
things.
We hope that you are having a great Sunday. As you can tell, we're having a pretty good one. Glad to be back with you. Where is our lower third? There it is. Need to unclick it. There.
What are our names?
Yeah, I need that so
Who
I
are
know
we?
who I am.
He knows my name.
What is that?
Jingle all the way.
Oh, yeah.
Double man.
All right.
Jamie.
All right. We're ready for a great broadcast tonight. Hope that you're at home or wherever it is that you watch us and you're in a comfortable spot. Notepad in hand. We're going to do a debate review this evening. But as we always do, want to go through some preliminary intro material. It sounds like it's getting worse.
You're
It might.
Mike.
Yeah.
You got to speak up on it.
Oh, I am up on it.
That sounds better when you're way up on it, though.
Okay. We'll try to figure it out. Something's going on with my mic.
He's our flight attendant today.
corny.
Right.
Sounds like you're talking like this.
I'm your pilot for this flight. This is a live religious broadcast presented to you by the Church of Christ of Lake County here in Ronan, Montana. We meet at the Ronan VFW Hall, and we'll have more to say about that as we get to the end of our broadcast. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. Contact information. I want to say welcome to our MCAT viewers. Channel 189 out of Missoula. Re-air Saturday nights, 9:30 p.m., so we're very thankful for that. If you're watching a re-air, be sure to check us out live. It's, I'm sure the re-air is fun, but it's more fun if you're watching live.
Mm-hmm.
So come and do that with us. We do have some new subscriber shout-outs.
Whoa.
Yeah, we've been gone for a while, and the subscribers have been stacking up. We're up to 361 now.
Nice.
Well, we want to say welcome to Saint Ciro Walker, Dark Star, the Narrow Way podcast. I've not checked that out yet. I've been meaning to. So we have another podcast following this, or we have a podcast following this broadcast.
Yes.
That's pretty neat. Need to check it out, see what's going on there. Kathy Strout, at ATT Levy, Fausto Alfaro, that's another fun name to say, and Taylor Yankala. Sounds right. Sounds good. Welcome, everybody, to the Back to the Bible broadcast. Hope that you have your notification bell turned on, along with your subscribing to the channel so that you know that we're live. Yes,
and
sir.
then there's one more. It was like a Rachel Albert or something that just subscribed.
Oh, wow. She doesn't have her page open to where we can see her name.
Yeah, spy on her.
Wow. Ridiculous.
Should have corrected her earlier.
Yeah. Chastise her.
I didn't know.
But as always, what's the foundation for this broadcast, the things that we're involved in doing? Acts 17:11. We're trying to get people to search the scriptures, the name of the broadcast, back to the Bible. We have a lot of people inserting their own ideas, their own interpretations, their own impersonal beliefs, how they feel about things, how they see things, but that's not going to help us be right with God. Because if that's what we're going to lean on, well, okay, everybody's got their own interpretation. Everybody is going to end up being led in their own way, and that's not good. In fact, it seems like I read in a book somewhere that there was a generation that rose up that didn't have a king. They did that which was right in their own eyes, and that was written in a negative context. It wasn't God praising them for their, what would you say, their
Ignorance?
Not ignorance, but their
Rebellion?
No, like their ingenuity, their their ability to put things together. It's like, we're trying to do this. No. God wasn't happy with that. He gave them what he wanted them to do. He gave them their law. They just simply needed to follow that law. That's what we're trying to get people back to doing today. Leave behind your man-made traditions, your man-made creeds, and just simply follow what the scriptures are teaching here. We also have Acts chapter 26 and verse 18, that the mission that Paul was given as a preacher, minister, evangelist, and as an apostle to go out into the world and to take the gospel to people, to open their eyes, to turn them from darkness to light, from the power of Satan unto God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. Primarily, we are focused in trying to help people receive this underlined section, that being the forgiveness of their sins. There are a lot of people that are out there in quote-unquote Christianity, though they would to some degree recognized as being in denominationalism. They're not hiding anymore the fact that they are in a denomination. But they're out there in their man-made church thinking that they have given their lives to Christ and that they have been forgiven of their sins, when in reality they have not, because they have not followed God's simple plan for salvation. That is, hearing God's word, believing God's word, and believing all of God's word, not just the parts that you like about it, to repent of a past life of sin, changing of mind, which leads to a change of action, be willing to confess with the mouth that Jesus is Christ, and being baptized in water for the remission of sins. And that one is the big one, where everybody wants to try to fight us on. No, you're not needing to be baptized. It has nothing to do with your salvation. Just to tee everybody up for where we might be going, we talked about how that Dr. Nace has a new Baptism Sunday video that just came out this year, back in August, so we need to watch that, and maybe that's what we'll end up doing doing an episode on, just to see updated information as to what's coming out of Terrace Lake. But seems to be a huge agenda against this one element of, well, yeah, baptism is important. As Dr. Nace said, they've been doing it for 2 millennia. But it's not enough. It's not important enough to be recognized as, well, this is what you're needing to do. This is what God has said you need to do so as to have your sins forgiven. And that's where most people are falling short, where you're missing the mark and you've not yet been forgiven of your sins. Well, I've been baptized. Yes, you might have been baptized. You might have been dunked under water, but you weren't being baptized for the reason that God said you're needing to be baptized. And then there's living faithfully until death. And if you like more information, study material, we're offering this book free of charge to non-members of the Lord's Church, the Church of Christ. All you have to do is give us your contact information. We'll ship it out to you, and we'll give you our information at the end. To our new episode 112. It took us a while to get here.
Yeah.
But, our laptop has been down. We had to travel out to Tennessee for some stuff. And
just Italy for whatever reason.
Yeah, Jordan was out there carousing around doing his thing.
I went to Mars Hill, okay?
Which I will grant him that. I will pass to Jordan the holier-than-thou mantle.
I am.
Until I get to go to Jerusalem or something, and then I'll take it back. All right, so we're going to do a debate review. Most of you, I'm sure, have already gone through and watched all the videos that David Lopez did and then my responses to him. And some of you have even put your thoughts in the comments, and we definitely appreciate you doing that. But I wanted to give Jordan and Reece an opportunity to weigh in on not only just their overall views of the debate and how it went and everything like that, but dealing with actual arguments from David's presentation and what they saw as being wrong with it. And of course, we do have our chat open tonight. Also, let me go over there and check, make sure. All right, so we do have some chats. What's his name?
J.S. Brown.
It's J.S. Brown, but is it Joseph or is
No.
it James? I think it's James. Anyways, doesn't matter. J.S. Brown
No offense.
says greetings. Good evening, Brother Brown. And Rob Trevino. Have
Hello.
greatly missed you, brothers. Been missing you
Hi,
too.
Rob.
Hope that you're feeling better. Rob's been dealing with some health problems here lately, and also his roommate, Brother Daryl, is also still dealing with problems. So for our faithful brethren out there, if you want to keep Brother Rob in your prayers and Brother Daryl, we greatly appreciate that. All right, so are we doing my thing first, or what do we say?
I don't know. I think as we talk, I'd have better. I didn't write it as a presentation. I just wrote a bunch of notes. So,
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to think where we're going to go with
Yeah, we can set it up.
the kind of the overall character problem. Yeah. Okay, all right, let's do that.
Microphone sound better.
Huh?
Your microphone's almost sounding
Yeah,
better.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it.
Don't touch it.
So J.S. Brown says James is my dad. All right, well, that still doesn't answer who you are.
James Brown!
Oh, yeah, you feel good? It's a man's world.
It's a man.
So what we're wanting to do with this is, and really this is something that when we're considering Christianity and what we're supposed to be doing in our everyday lives, 2 Corinthians 13:5, Paul wrote to those brethren in dealing with the problems that they had. And he's laying this out in the context of, if you would examine yourselves, you're not needing that anybody else will come along and examine you. And he even dealt with that in his first letter, in 1 Corinthians chapter 4. But in 2 Corinthians 13:5, there's an examination that's needing to take place. Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. This is what everybody is needing to do. Now, granted, a lot of people are not in a position, it's not a situation they're not in a position to do it, they're just uncomfortable with doing it because they're afraid of doing that examination because they're afraid of what they're going to find. And what's being discussed here in the context of whether you be in the faith is that system of faith. We're talking about the doctrine here, the gospel, the teachings that Christ has laid out for his people. Are you in it or are you not? And you need to examine yourself in view of what the scriptures teach, what the Bible teaches, so as to be able to find that. We are more than fine with people examining us. We put ourselves out there in public. This broadcast is public. We tag different churches in the area to let them know that we are on live so that they can involve themselves in the chat or call in, what have you, to ask questions or give rebuttal, give argumentation, everything like that. We want that kind of dialogue. But what's interesting is when we go out and we start trying to examine others, you can tell they get uncomfortable just right away. And what that is, that's really a sign of just how uncomfortable you are with your own belief system. You know, you don't want to talk about things that you don't know. And as soon as somebody starts talking about a topic you're unfamiliar with, well, let's shift. And like I start shifting to something that I do know, because I don't want to be viewed as, well, I don't know what this actually is. And that's why we're wanting to do this episode, and we'll do another one after this more than likely, because there's 4 videos that these guys would need to go through. But we'll do just 2, and then we'll move on to some new material. We're needing to examine each other. You've got to do it. And in this examining process, you're going to come out with 2 responses or 2 conclusions. You're either going to be in the faith or you're going to be out of the faith. Either you got some things that you're needing to readjust, need to recalibrate, or there's just some things that you just got it completely wrong. You got it completely backwards. And that's what we're wanting to give the opportunity for Jordan and Reece to do tonight with this information from David Lopez. Now, to begin, and I'm sure a lot of people saw this in the debate themselves, but this really sets the foundation for what David was trying to do. You know, there was something that just did not sit right with what David said in the interview when he was talking about, he had discussed with a preacher that was actually a mutual friend of ours, and I didn't piece it together until I actually called the individual that I believe that he's speaking about. Now, I say that I believe that he's speaking about because I did message David, and I asked him before I did my final response video, and I know that he saw it because there's the little indication bubble that he read my message. And I said, I won't use this in my final response, but who was the preacher you reached out to for debate that said no? And I had a reason for asking, and I'm bringing out the reason tonight. So I want to go back and I want to play from the interview what he said, and then I want to give you the information that I've now come across to show you a major flaw in what David was actually trying to do.
We come to my questions for Micah. But I want to remind viewers of 2 things. First, how a man asks or answers questions says something about the man or his doctrine.
So the way a man asks or answers the question says a lot about the man and about his doctrine. Well, I asked David a question he didn't even answer for clarification of who it was that he was referencing. Then the way that he sets up this whole scenario of how this supposedly went in talking to this other preacher, I believe says a lot more about what David's agenda is.
But anyways, to know that Micah has decided to engage in this discussion just thrills me, because no other Church of Christ pastor I've reached out to in 3 years has been wanting to have this discussion. In fact, there's a friend you and I know. I called him and a year and a half ago, and I actually requested a debate from him. He reached out to me. I called him. We talked, And in the discussion, he said, I don't even know if it would be profitable to have a debate with you because I believe so much in what you say.
So it's that section right there. Now, in the interview, I didn't think anything of it because in the interview, I hadn't spoken to the person that David is actually referencing. Now that I'm remembering, there's another video call that David and I had setting up the whole debate. We discussed on video call so as to make sure the microphones and all that kind of stuff was going to work. And I now remember in that conversation, he actually names who it was that he was talking to then. So it's helpful that we're going through this because now I'm piecing everything together. Who David was talking about is Drew Leonard. Now, even before remembering who it was that he was actually talking about, that he actually told me, in referencing the fact, well, it's a mutual friend that we had from school. That wasn't hard for me to pinpoint because I didn't have very many friends in school. There was Drew.
Either did I.
There was Drew, David, my little brother, and then there's another guy who is preaching in Mississippi now. I don't know if I should say it. I don't know if he wants me to say his name. I'll say his name. Jonathan Hager. Those were the only few friends that I had at the Memphis School of Preaching. And Jonathan Hager actually, he's a closer friend than the other guys. He went to bat for me I won't say a lot, but there were some big times where he put himself on the line of potentially getting in trouble to help me out at different times. So I knew it wasn't Jonathan that he'd be talking to, so the only other one could have been Drew. So I called Drew up after thinking about what David said in the interview, and I asked Drew, I said, Drew, this is what David said. Is that what you said? And Drew kind of chuckled, and he's like, no, that is not at all what I said. And he said, I was in agreement with David in the things that he was saying that different classmates were saying about him and doing and so on and so forth, because I know that in some areas Drew has met some of the same reaction dealing with brethren in that frame and dealing with those things. But he said, but when it came down to these doctrinal things that we were talking about, he said, no. David has some things right, but overall he's got a lot of things wrong. So David flat out misrepresented what he and Drew talked about and what Drew even said. And then to the point of the question about, asking Drew to debate. Drew, initially, I spoke to Drew on 9/20, the 20th of August this month, and he told me
Last
that,
month.
yeah, what? Oh, yeah,
We're in September.
Okay, so it was this month. No.
9/20 September, but you said August.
Okay, whatever. It's on the screen. I talked to Drew, and Drew tells me that he actually offered David some debate propositions. But the problem with David, and I knew exactly what Drew was talking about because David did it in our debate, he wants to set it up as, well, we're going to be talking about this, but then all of a sudden he wants to start talking about mechanical instruments and music, and then he wants to start talking about how love is the supreme law, so you've got all these different topics coming into one debate. And so Drew said, no, if you're not going to be able to stick to one topic, then we're not going to do this. But then also there's the fact that while David is painting this picture that, I've reached out to people and they don't even want to talk about what I'm wanting to talk about, David failed to mention in the interview how Drew read David's book and wrote a critique of David's book and sent it to him. It was 10 pages long. I have a copy of it, and I've read through it. Why would David leave that out? Well, the way a man asks questions or answers questions tells you a lot about the man and his doctrine. That, number one, that doesn't show a lot of love towards Drew to misrepresent him in that way. And it doesn't show a whole lot of love towards the churches of Christ, where you're just painting it as, I'm reaching out to people and they don't want to talk about this stuff. Nobody wants to talk about this stuff. Drew was willing to talk to you about it. And I know from the interview that at least I saw two other Memphis School of Preaching guys. They didn't go to school with me. They might have gone to school with David, but they reached out to David in the comments, asking him to call them. I don't know if David actually did, but, there again just goes to show it's not at all like what you're presenting. Nick Shipman in the chat saying, oh, snap, here comes the tea. Yeah, we're spilling it for sure. And so, some of this started coming out towards the end of the debate, but I didn't want to put it in the debate because I didn't want to distract from the actual discussion. Mm-hmm. But it is needing to come out now because with the debate and the motivation, and we might be getting ahead of our notes, but with this debate and this motivation, it really says a lot about what David is actually trying to do. It's not a thing that you've come into some new information that's actually helpful or going to be beneficial to anybody else. This just shows you've got an axe to grind, that you have had problems with brethren, but I would have to say that a lot of the problems that David has had with brethren, he's more than likely brought on himself. So even though David did graduate from the Memphis School of Preaching, he was kicked out first. And the reason why he was kicked out while I was there. And I can remember having discussions with David and to where he was, getting aggravated with the dress code. At the Memphis School of Preaching, you got to wear a shirt and tie. You don't have to wear a coat, but if you're coming to class, you have to wear a shirt and tie. And he was, getting aggravated about that. Well, John the Baptist is out here and he's dressed like a wild man, so on and so forth. And I just told David, I said, look, man, if you don't want to do the dress code, you don't have to be here. But if you're going to be here, then you got to follow this dress code. And it's not a situation of that they're trying to say that you're in sin if you're not going to do that. It's just they're not trying to make it a biblical scriptural thing. It's just the simple fact of here are our rules as this school, and if you want to be here in our school, then that's what you've got to do. And it's just it's just as simple as that. And then there was one day in chapel, it was his turn to speak, and he wasn't prepared, and he couldn't remember how to pronounce the word sepulcher, and he ended up asking Bobby Liddell on the front row on how to pronounce it as he was reading it through the text, and that just that was a bad look. There was several things going on to where he ended up being removed, but they let him back in. So even right there, if the Church of Christ, if these brethren really are as bad as what you're saying, why would they let you back in?
Yeah, give you a second chance
after kicking you out because you're being problematic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of stuff he's conveniently leaving out in his presentations, and thus that's the reason why we need to examine. What you think about, Jordan?
Nothing. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's nothing there.
Nothing. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Oh, man.
Whoa.
Chat's been going crazy.
Boom!
So that's where, in my review of the debate, I wanted to make sure that I brought that out now because I didn't want to bring it out in the debate and be distracting. Mm-hmm. We're in this debate. Let's deal with these actual issues, and we can talk about this stuff later. But it is, once I realized it, like what he said, how it was a false representation, not only of Drew, but other brethren and things that are going on. And if that's how you're going to start this whole discussion, what does that then say about the rest of your argumentation that you would be laying out? Well, you're already showing that you will shift things, paint things in a certain way so as to make them appear as to be something that they're not. And that is big time problematic when it comes to trying to help people and leading them to the truth. So,
and doing a debate.
Right, and doing debate. And so the other thing of, you pointed this out the other day, of changing the definition.
Yes.
In any other debate, they would have quit. Like, they just would have ended the debate there. You are changing your definition in the middle of the debate. You do not do that. You just, if anybody is conceding a debate, it's the one who has to change a definition in the middle of the debate because it doesn't now fit with what is being shown.
Mistrial.
Definitely mistrial, and I don't even know that mistrial is a...
Well, it's grounds for mistrial.
Well, yeah, certainly.
You can't plead guilty and then go,
certainly.
or not guilty and then go, wait, I am guilty. Or whatever. It's like you can't. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I didn't know this word meant that.
Yeah.
It means that? Oh, yeah, I actually did that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another thing. All right, so now.
Do I win?
Yeah. So now, with that out of the way, and 25 minutes into the episode of me talking.
So we're going to do 3.
Right. Yeah. Now let's turn it over to you guys.
What?
Yeah. Just thoughts of how it went, what was said, so on and so forth.
Go ahead, Reese.
Well, in his interview, and as he's talking you up and your family and how great you all are and this and that, he was talking about as a boy, he he said that he became a Christian and he needed someone to idolize pretty much. And that's what he did was you're idolizing these people so much that when they fail or do something wrong, you're going to throw the whole book on them. And he talks about love and grace and all that. But where he doesn't give is for the Church of Christ. And so when he's over there talking, this was Rachel and me talking back and forth because we listened to the interview yesterday.
So these are really Rachel's thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. It was a good point out that she said is it seems like he idolized Christians, and so he's not converted to Christianity. He just idolized the Christians. So when they failed, and it's pretty much, well, I don't need to do it because they're not doing it. So to put that in simpler terms, if you're on a job site and you need to get work done, if the employee's not doing it, then you don't need to do it. And that's not going to get the job done. So that's as simple as I can put it. And yeah, so that was a really good thought from her. But yeah, he misuses love and grace through the whole thing. He just, no matter where he goes, you can't catch him because he's going to fall back on grace or you're just not loving enough. And yeah, that's pretty much what I got so far right now. So, Jordan, your turn.
Just a second.
Well, while he's doing that, we can go to the chat real quick. In the chat, Jeff. Okay, man, did we say Jeff? We didn't even say Jeff.
No.
Sorry about that. All right, Brother Brown. Good to see you tonight.
Sorry, Joseph.
JC, I can't believe you guys didn't have tons of friends. How can this be? Oh man. How can I phrase this?
Nerd.
When you're dealing with folks, man, that sounds like it just got worse.
Gotta get up on it.
No, I am on it. When you're dealing with people, oh man, I don't even know where to begin with that. I don't know. I'll talk to you later about it. JC and I message a pretty good bit. So every institution has.
We were homeschooled, so that's why we didn't have any.
Jordan is my friend.
JC also says every institution has the right to set a pattern and standard. To the best of my knowledge, no one is compelled to attend these institutions. Absolutely, that is the case. And but it's just, and there shows a problem that David has, and which is a problem that a lot of people have when it comes to Christianity and the Bible, is issues with authority. Well, I don't like that you're making me do this, so I'm going to kick, and I'm going to try to complain about it, and this, that, and the other. Well, when it comes to God's authority as to what he is saying about things, okay, yeah, you can kick about it, you can leave, but you're not going to win this argument. An empty thought. Okay, an empty thought bubble. Jordan over there looking.
Yeah.
Nick Shipman, just sounds like he was looking for a reason to exit the church, and any reason was a good reason.
I like that because it goes with Rachel's thought that she was saying yesterday is when you're idolizing someone, you want to be that person, but you're not willing to put the work in to be that person. So when push comes to shove, you're not that person. So he idolized Johnny and you, and I don't know if Caleb was teaching at that point, but like he was.
We don't use those names.
Yeah, he was putting the emphasis on your dad and how he watched the videos over and over and over and over and over again, and that seems like who he wanted to be, but he couldn't match up to that level, and so he, like Nick Shipman just said, he wanted any excuse to get out. So that's what kind of seems like in my thought bubble.
All right, now Jordan, you got your notes down?
Well, yeah, so for the empty thought bubble is correct. That for me, just watching the whole thing, I have had to watch it, telling Micah, like, I don't know, not every episode 15 times, but I've had to watch it like all the episodes like 15, 20 times to try and grasp this thing, because I am not a schooled person. I am not a smart person. I'm not a smart person. I'm a dumb person. I could not do reading problems in school. You know, Billy Bob has 20 M&Ms, so how many, miles per hour is Betty Lou going? And it's like, I'm just still thinking about the M&Ms. So when I'm listening to him and all he does is bring up all these big words and big word after big word, and he's just trying to sound smart and go through this thing, and he's trying to get you to go that he's smart, and he's going through all these big words. it's not plain and simple for, if this is the gospel and this is, and I know he's not teaching the whole gospel, but this is, what, if we're supposed to, as he told us many times, to go buy his book and go to his school and go, if we're supposed to go to this thing and assume that this man is smart, it was very, very hard to understand him. I had to listen to it over and over and over and over and over again. It's still hard for me to even put things together as we are still listening to things, because, even for us to come here and like Mike is like, hey, why don't you, like, here you guys go. What were your thoughts? It's hard for me to put my thoughts down because we have standards we got to hold to. And for him, it's just like, and for any denomination out there, not to just pick on him, but for all these people, it's just like, I can make up whatever I want because I just got to attach it to something that I have to misunderstand, or I don't care if I understand it or not. I just feel like this is it. Romans 14, claim the Romans 14, got it, right? As I've been saying, Romans is the center of the Bible. You thought it was Psalms? No, it's Romans. Romans 14 is the center of the Bible because it's whatever we think, and you don't offend and this and that. There's no standard. So for us to go into this, it's very hard to understand. So that's my first initial takeaway is, how are you supposed to get anybody? If you are right, David, it's very hard to listen to you and understand you because there was nothing really there.
Give it to me in simple terms.
Yeah, give it to me in simple terms so I can understand
Lazarus is dead.
Yes.
Speak plainly.
So that's just my opening thoughts. I don't know if we need have any. I mean, I have thoughts and notes to his videos, but I don't know how we're going.
Just go with whatever you got written down.
I don't have it in line.
It doesn't have to be in line.
It's not in line.
Just as it came. As it
You're
came
a
to
monster.
Well, my biggest thing.
Go ahead. Oh.
My biggest thing is how he. So the reason he did have to change it from henotheist to monolatry, and that's what we were talking about, is because the henotheist still gives honor to little g gods. So they believe in the big G God, but they still give honor to the little g gods, and he had to change it to monolatry because you claim the supreme God, but you still believe, you don't give honor, and so that's why he had to change it, because he messed up. But it doesn't matter. That's just like going to, when you're talking to an atheist or what are they called? Atheist or
agnostic.
Agnostic. It's like the atheist just denies God. The agnostic says, well, there's a possibility that there's a God out there. It's like, well, they're both going to hell. And so is the henotheist and the monolatriist. And I know David's sitting back going, see, this is why the Church of Christ is so evil, is because they say that people are going to hell. It's like, you cannot believe in little g gods. That's not going to happen. I was talking to my wife about it, and I was like, so what do you think about this monolatry? What do you think about, you can still believe that there's other gods out there, but you don't give them honor? And she's like, well, then what are they doing? It's like, exactly. You cannot you're giving honor out there. And you already touched on it on Acts 17. On Mars Hill that I walked, but Paul, when he's
going to be rubbing that in our face.
I walked on the same
every
hill.
episode.
When Paul's going through there, you do not in any way get the impression that you are allowed to still give any honor to gods. His soul, his mind is so set on fire that he's got to go start talking to these people. And in no way do you get the impression that he's saying, well, you can still come over here, just give honor to this God, but you can believe there, we'll get you there eventually. There's no way. You don't get that impression at all. And then he stays, I have it in my notes somewhere, but I have so many notes, I can't find it all. But you see that he,
Go on.
There it is. So he goes right after he converts. He converts. Man, I forget his name. Acts chapter 18. Not Cornelius. Corinth. I bet. Crispus. After he converts Crispus, and you're in Corinth, he stays there for a year and 6 months. You don't think he's at Corinth and teaching them to not believe in these little g gods, and then rewriting to them later and then saying that, oh, okay, so, I'm still fellowshipping with you even though you still believe in these little g gods. There's no way that this was happening, especially when David wanted to stay in chapter 8, but then you go to chapter 10, in verse 14, he says...
Oh, you want me to go there?
Yeah,
Sorry.
let's go there for a second.
All right, 1 Corinthians 10.
14, he says, wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. Now, we go to Proverbs, and it says, don't even go to her corner.
Dealing with a strange woman.
Yeah, with the strange woman, it's like, don't even go to her corner. Don't even give a chance for sin to start. David sounds like a Pharisee in the sense that, which I believe you brought up, that, well, you can't murder them, but you can hate them. You can't commit adultery, but you can look, can't touch, right? So it's like, okay, you can believe in little g gods, but, don't believe, like give them honor. It's like, here he goes, same letter. Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. Flee from it. They're not, and I know somebody in the comments to him said, you can't worship other gods. And he said, that's right. You cannot worship other gods. It's like, it's still acknowledging the little g God. That's like Christian 101, believing in one God. There is one God. There is but one God. So that was my big thing with the notes that I was trying to stick with. But that's why he had to change his definition, because he realized he messed up, because the henotheists are giving honor to those little g gods, but the monolatrists, however you want to say it, are not. So that was my big thing. But if you read the rest of that, the cup of blessing which we bless is not the communion of the blood of Christ. The bread which we break is not the communion of the body of Christ. For we being many are one bread and one body, for we are all partakers of that one bread. Behold, Israel after the flesh are not they which eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar? What say I then, that an idol is nothing, or that which is offered to sacrifice to idols is anything? But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to God. And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. That doesn't sound like you're being kind to those people that still believe in those gods there.
But grace.
Yeah, and that's it too. That was it. Did you ever pull up that Patrick meme? Because that's really how this could be summed up. It's like, is this your wallet? No, it's not my wallet, but it has your picture in it. And I watched you drop it. Sounds reasonable. So it's your wallet. No. That's how this can be summed up is, okay, so all we have to do is love. No, it's not just love. So there is some law. Yes, but not law over love. Okay, so you don't have to do law. No, you have to do law, but not over love. And then just going back and saying he conceded the debate that as long as you start off with that, you won. None of it makes any sense. I don't know if I make any sense.
As long as you hop on and say I won,
yeah,
they lost.
Yeah.
It's like, I said it first, you can't say it.
I'm not trying to make cheap shots. I'm trying to come from the dum-dum's perspective of it. It's really hard for me to follow along, and I've done we were supposed to come back last week, and we ended up not. And so I've been listening to these things for 2 weeks, going through it. It's really hard for me to come through, and it's just listening. I don't understand and reading. So it's not just listening to David, but going through Acts 17, Acts 18, 1 Corinthians 8, 10, Romans 14. I'm reading over and over and over and over again. It's hard for me to believe that they were still believing in little g gods. So that was just that point. But go ahead, Mike. I'm done with talking.
No, that's all right. No, we're going to come back to you. Let's go see what's going on here in the chat. See what they have to say on it also, because we're glad that you're here and we want to involve you. Let's see. J.S. Brown, I've got 100 nicknames, so it doesn't really matter as long as you don't call me late for dinner. All right. Nick Shipman, Jordan's right. Being verbose and obtuse is not conductive and that's actually a word I don't know. Erudite dialogue? Look that one up. Jamie over there. Look that up. That's Joe Rogan, by the way.
Jamie. I'm Jamie.
You're my Jamie.
Okay.
Uh,
Look that up. Grizzly bears. Where is it?
Right there. ERUDITE. I need to know the definition of that word.
It just ended.
Okay.
Hold on. We'll do it again.
JC replying to Nick Shipman, indubitably. I know that word. JC also says, replying to Nick, I was kind of baffled by that thought that the believers in Corinth, as messed up as some of them may have been, still believed in a pantheon of, and that's coming from Facebook, so it's not coming through all the way.
I can go find it. Sign me out. Hold on.
Wow, you got kicked all the way out?
Yeah.
Man. We'll go on to the next one because it looks like it's not fully there either.
What was his word?
Having or showing great knowledge or learning.
Okay. All right. That's a good one. I like that word. Just need to learn how to pronounce it. Yeah, there you go. You back in yet?
Hold on. Yeah, I'm back in. I just got to go back to our...
You've been kicked out.
You've been kicked out. You brought up Christian things. Okay, we're almost there. Whose comment was it?
JC, I was kind of baffled by the thought.
Dead air.
I was kind of baffled by that thought that the believers in Corinth, as messed up as some of them may have been, still believed in a pantheon of demigods. So that was it.
Okay. And then what about the next one? When I was a Catholic?
When I was a Catholic, in effect, we did that believing in a big main God and yet never really approached him directly, but always through what were in effect little g gods. Brilliant, Jordan.
All right.
Brilliant, Jordan.
Yes. And then he also says the dum-dum's perspective is the right perspective. Jordan, you hit the nail right on the head.
See, I understand that. I'm a carpenter.
Yeah, big time. Now, I'm all for engaging with and dealing with people of higher status, higher caliber, and higher learning.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah,
I just can't get there.
but-
I think I do.
But the difference is when you listen to, so like my favorite person in higher learning to listen to is Thomas Sowell. Just brilliant guy, brilliant writer, and especially dealing with situations dealing with races and economics and like everything like that. Love his stuff. But what I noticed with him is that even though he is a very intelligent person, he knows how to use his intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's speaking and when he's writing, it's like what I think JC said it. You're not being verbose. Like you're not just using words for the sake of using words. It's kind of like how kids would do when they're middle school, high school, and you got a word count to meet.
No, I was going to say you're not writing an essay.
Well, but even in writing the essay, it's like, okay, I got to reach 500 words, and I'm 50 words short. So let me just start throwing,
ChatGPT.
Start throwing a bunch of stuff in here. Word salad that in no way, shape, or form connects to what we're actually dealing with, and thus that's the problem when you're dealing with individuals that are in David's position. Well, it almost was a situation of, well, I've got to talk this way so as to come across as being smarter.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, all you did was lose a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And that's not a way to win your case or uphold your case as being the truth and fundamental that people are needing to follow you if they do not even know where they're following you. And then, the whole situation of coming on and, he's conceded the debate. It's like, I don't remember conceding. I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still talking and I'm still debating with you, so I haven't conceded anything. And just getting on there and saying that doesn't make it so. But that is a debate tactic to where you say things multiple and multiple times and people start, oh, okay, I'm buying into this. And there was something else that you guys said. That was in connection with it had to deal with the 1 Corinthians stuff. But I lost it.
Should have wrote down.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, Jordan, what else you got over there in your notes? You're scrolling around. It's been good so far. Don't stop.
Believe it.
I found it was funny, but it is true because Paul writes it that, knowledge puffs up. Yeah, so when you're using your knowledge, but David's whole position was you don't need to say anything because if you say something, you're being puffed up. But then if you're in the same book, you go back a few chapters, you go to chapter 5, and they were puffed up because they weren't doing anything. Okay? So here's my thing. The next chapter, we all know that chapter 5 is the son having his, father's wife, and we just need to pull it up.
Okay.
Verse 9, have his father's wife. Paul's saying, I've already judged him. You need to get the leaven out. He's not taking it easy on him. I wrote unto you in an epistle not to company with fornicators, yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous, or the extortioners, or with idolaters, for then ye must go out of the world. But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, or a covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner. With such in one, know not to eat. So that's the point. And then he continues on that. Let's go to the next chapter so I can finish the thought. We're still on the whole thing that he's taking it easy, and he's telling them, those that have knowledge, you need to take it easy on these guys. So let's go to 6:9. Is it, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. So none of these are going to inherit the kingdom of God. We go back, and it's like, okay, I told you, you can't get out of the world, all right? So I'm not talking about the people of the world, but your brethren who are being like this. You are puffed up if you're not getting that leaven out. Now, I know that David, because he listed that, David Lopez listed that in his thing. If a Calvinist is doing any of those things in Galatians chapter 5, the works of the flesh, they can be disfellowshipped if they're doing that, but none of them are doing that. But also he listed 1 Corinthians 5. So I know he knows about this, but yet he's not putting together that the fornicator, the man taking his father's wife, yeah, that's okay, because that's an extreme sin. But idolater is second in chapter 6, and it's right there with any brethren in idolatry. But he would say, well, no, that's the worship of those gods. I don't see a difference. I don't see a difference in that. And bringing up Catholicism's, yeah, the same thing, JC. That is the same thing. You are bringing in all these little things that, well, I'm not doing it. So, and that really is what he was doing the whole time. Well, I'm not doing it. So, and it doesn't not say to not do it, but that is what he is doing. It's really hard. It's really hard to sit here and talk about this, but basically what it comes back to in conclusion, I don't know any big words, but idolatry isn't just the worshiping of gods, even though you can probably find on Wikipedia that it says it's just the worship of gods. But no, in God's eyes, if you are giving any homage to any of these little g gods, Paul was not doing that. He lists in the very same list to the brethren of Corinth that, okay, if they are doing any of these things, they're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. And if they're doing any of these things, you should not associate with them. So how can they all be sitting there going, well, we're eating this meat, or we don't want to eat this meat because we still believe in Zeus. Even though Zeus isn't doing anything, we still know he's out there, but, it can't happen. So these are just my arguments, and that's why Micah did the debate and I didn't.
Oh, man. Well, going back to the idolatry point, and that you're saying, well, you might be able to find on Wikipedia where they put this definition with, well, this is what it is. But in reality, idolatry is just the worship of self. You are the idol, and you are establishing a false deity that allows you to do what you want to do. That's all it is. It's not the actual image. It's whoever is making that thing, they're making it so that they can put the authority somewhere else outside of themselves to say, oh, no, there is this deity here, and this deity allows me to be involved in this practice that I want. So it's not a matter of, well, okay, we're over here just, bowing down to idols. It's the fact that, well, this idol lets me do what I want to do. And that's why you build it. That's why you make it. Mm-hmm. And that's what people are doing today. They all have these carnal things, these fleshly things, lustful things that they want to do. So what have they then done in turn? Well, we will make a church, or we will make a religion or a doctrine that then turns around and lets us do anything. And I'm using that phrase specifically because that's what David was hammering so much of what his position was built on in Romans 14 of, well, you see, Paul just opens it up to where we can do anything. But then he turned around in one of his videos and laid out from Galatians chapter 5 where, well, no, actually, Paul makes a blanket statement of, and, the lust of the works of the flesh, yes, and such like, and things that are such like. So that actually, you can't have a do anything and a such like in the same scenario, in the same situation, to where they actually cancel each other out. Well, no, you actually can't do anything because of this such like statement that's over here. That would be involved in the works of the flesh. And he recognized that, and he had to point that out in his own video, not even realizing that it shot himself in the foot. That you can't have that do, well, yeah, it's just, well, do anything as long as you love your neighbor. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I can go over here and do this then. Well, no, that actually falls into the category of this such like in Galatians 5. Oh, so we're not actually in a do anything type of state. But he could not bring himself to fully acknowledge that, because to do that would destroy the entire position that he was trying to build.
But what he saves himself, because he did notice, because he kept saying, well, Micah keeps saying that I said do anything, but I did not say just do anything. It's do anything unless it's been told that we can't do it. And therefore, if musical instruments in the New Testament are not denied, then I can do it. But we're going to show a video, maybe tonight, maybe next time, but the gays do that. That's what they do. That you have, and it's not just the gays, it's everybody. What you're talking about, idolatry and whoever, if you want something, you can find a way to get it in there. And that's all David did. And that's why I said it's really hard for us, because we have to stick to a standard, not just attach whatever we want out there. Yeah, anything we want.
Now, he said it's a do anything as long as you love your brethren, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were going through Genesis 34 the other day, and that's when Dinah was defiled. Mm-hmm. But then it says Shechem, the son of Hamor, defiled her, but then he loved her. And it's like, so you can go defile people, but say and claim that I love them? I don't think that's how the law's going to work out here. And no sane person would agree to that. So it's like, no, you can do anything with love. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. And you can't reason like that.
Okay, and that was something else that Jordan brought up when we're thinking about the 1 Corinthians 5 situation and the withdrawal of the young man that has his father's wife. Mm-hmm. That whole situation is a loving scenario.
Yes.
The act of withdrawal is a loving scenario because it's a correction that's being motivated by, we want to help you.
Yeah. But
the only way that we can help you at this stage is that we've got to remove you. Mm-hmm. You're not repenting. You're not changing your ways. Then, okay, this is what we got to do. You're calling our hand here, calling our, not in our bluff, but it's just, is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Calling our hand that we want you to stop this. You won't stop it. Then, okay, we can't be in fellowship with you until you stop this. And if there is actual fellowship there, in which we've talked about this in several of our classes, and that's part of the reason why discipline does not work inside of the churches of Christ, is because there's not a whole lot of fellowship. There is no close connection. There is no real tie that binds these brethren together, that when it comes time to then discipline by withdrawing fellowship, it's like, well, I'm not losing anything anyways. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, if I wanted, like, if you're in certain states like Tennessee, Texas, well, I leave this congregation to go to another congregation down the road.
Yep.
But when we're thinking about that in 1 Corinthians 5, 1 Corinthians 6, These are all commands that are being laid out by God. Paul is writing by inspiration what God is revealing to these brethren, and God is saying to them, here's what you're needing to do. Well, okay, if that is our first and great command, that we're supposed to love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, then what he is then telling us and telling them in this Corinthian letter to do must be something that is designed for the love and care for our neighbors. And especially if you're thinking about it from the standpoint of, so 1 Corinthians 5, man, you have to think about that, that father having to deal with the embarrassment of his son being with his wife. Why wouldn't you be inconsiderate? So that's a loving, caring act towards him. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is wrong. Mm-hmm. We're coming to your defense. We're coming to your aid. You deserve justice in this. And that this man should be, he should be rebuked. He should be reproached and corrected and, encouraged to stop doing what's going on here. But in David's mindset, it's just, he didn't say it in the debate, but overall, his situation would have to be, well, okay, if we can stay in fellowship with idolaters, why couldn't we stay in fellowship with this young man that is in adultery?
That's what I tried to say, but
yeah, no, and I'm just reiterating it from a different angle. It's just all of this stuff. If that's how you're going to argue this, then yeah. If this thing over here is allowed, then even this situation, 1 Corinthians 6, about taking your brother to court. Well, okay, shame on you, shouldn't have done it. But hey, we're still in fellowship. Mm-hmm. Everything's still good.
See you on Sunday.
Yeah. And Paul is writing about all of this stuff so as to remove the division that comes about because of these type of attitudes and these kind of characteristics. So since Jordan brought up the video of David doing the same thing that Matt Vines in the homosexual community is doing by they have an item, they have something that they're wanting, and that's the thing about the Bible. If you have a position that you want to try to promote, you can interpret Scripture so as to do it. Mm-hmm. And so this is just another illustration of trying to show what was going on in the debate. We're going to have to turn this down just a little bit because his
lisp is too loud.
Yeah, that audio was something else.
Let's look to the New Testament, which contains the longest reference to same-sex behavior in the Bible. In Romans 1, verses 26 and 27, people who turn away from God to worship idols are then turned over to their own lusts and vices. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error. Paul's words here are clearly negative, but the behavior he condemns is lustful. He makes no mention of love, commitment, or faithfulness. His description of same-sex behavior is based solely on a burst of excess and lust. In the ancient world,
All right, we'll stop it there. But
please.
But you see what he's doing with Romans chapter 1.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about that is that I ran into that in Martinsville out on the street. There was some pride event going on, and myself and another member from the Danville congregation, we were downtown trying to interview people at the Pride Parade, and somebody there actually brought up that argument from Romans chapter 1 that, Paul is dealing with homosexuality in the context of idolatry. Not just your everyday loving, monogamous, homosexual relationship. And I can remember standing in the street looking at this person, it's like, you didn't come up with that on your own. Where did you get that?
Oh, man.
And it's coming from this.
From Slytherin.
But that's the very thing that we're saying that people are doing across the board. It's not just the homosexual group, it's the people that want to drink.
Yep.
Well, I like to drink, so what will they do? Well, Jesus made wine. Well, let's break that down. And then we'll start realizing that, you know what you're doing with that text, what you're doing with that scripture does not fit. Jesus would not be caught dead creating that amount of alcohol to help people get intoxicated that are already supposedly intoxicated.
Yeah, especially because Habakkuk 2:15, he'd
Right.
be breaking the law.
The law would say you do not do this to your neighbor. That wouldn't be very loving and very kind to your neighbor to get them intoxicated like that.
Imagine Jesus giving the excuse because it says not to get them drunk, going, well, I don't know who's been drinking. I'm just doing it for everyone else. Like,
But that wouldn't really fit because he's omnipotent and he knows the hearts of men. So he would.
Well,
I'm falling
if
on
he's
love and
drinking, he
grace
can be
at
a
the-
liar too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm falling on love and grace at this
Okay,
moment.
All right, gotcha. So that's what David was doing in 1 Corinthians 8, Romans 14. Well, I have this position to where I want to try to open it up to where, you know what, as long as people love God, love their neighbor, everything else just kind of falls by the wayside. Well, that sounds a lot like what Matt Vines and all these other people are doing too. They're going to passages, cherry-picking things out and cutting it completely out of its context so as to build up, oh, well, you see, well, the Bible actually, and it goes back to the it didn't say it argument that Dave was trying to fall on. It doesn't say not to. And that's what Matt Vines was doing with homosexuality. Well, it doesn't say that two men cannot be in a loving, monogamous relationship. It doesn't have to say two men. Well, actually, the Bible does say that. It says it in the Old Testament. But it also says it in that context in Romans chapter 1 when Paul describes it as being unnatural. That right there establishes this is something you're not supposed to be doing.
It's disgusting.
It goes against nature. Oh, but no. I want it. So I'm going to try to find a loophole, a way to get around it and establish it in. And so we're looking at that kind of extreme, but then you attach it over to Dr. Nace to where he says, well, yeah, you know, the traditions that we're making, I think they're on par and on the same level with the traditions that Jesus was laying down. You just put yourself on the same level as the Son of God.
Yep.
Let's think about what you're saying here.
Yeah.
But that's part of the problem is people really aren't thinking about what they're saying. There was something else there. I can't think of it. Got anything else?
Well, it's just adding on to that
Go for
marriage,
it.
divorce, and remarriage.
Oh, okay, right,
You know,
yeah.
That's, I mean, and that's what people do. That's whatever you want, and that's all David Lopez did, is add what he wanted. He wants instruments. He wants to take the Church of Christ down. He found a way to do it. So I don't, you know, I've said this before, but I once said, so if I want to, I was talking to my Calvinist friend. I said, if I want to create, you know, if there's 40,000 different denominations out there, there's almost 50 now. But at the time I said, if there's 40,000 different denominations out there and I want to be 40,001 and I just want to take, you know, he said, as long as I take anything from the Bible. So I said, if I take day 5, you know, when he made the fish and the animals of the sea, mammals of the sea, you know, can I make whale church, you know, and bring in a, you know, see-through floor and I have killer whales under there because I love killer whales? You know, can I do that in worship to God? Yeah, I guess so. I was like, anybody can do that. I made that up. I made that up on the fly. And I want Green Day to be the band. It's like, you know, not that I want them now. But I said that. He's like, yeah, that's fine. You know, and pizza and root beer for the Lord's Supper. So you go to these extremes. And, of course, David Lopez would say, no, that has been not, you know, this and that. It's
Refuted.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, that's too extreme. We all know that. It's like, no, you said, and I got the almost quote, if I can find if you love your neighbor and love God, you will be saved. If you you need to pass over many sins like God. Quoting Peter 4:8, or I always get that one mixed up. But love covers a multitude of sins. If you pass over many sins, you need to pass over many sins like God. But that doesn't fit because all the Corinth letter is talking about is, dude, you guys are messed up. That's just it. Go read it and you'll see. It's just like, you're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. It's not just about the idolatrous meats and the son taking his father's wife. You okay? You all right? Yeah, I lost myself. Thanks, Reece.
All I'm seeing is those memes where it's the kid crying, like the paper's wet, trying to do the math work, and the
Yes.
mom goes, okay, I'm going to ask this again. What's 7
Yes.
times 8? Yeah, that's
Yes.
all Corinth probably did was,
that's all they saw.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay. I got it. If you're gonna, basically he's saying you don't. Paul was still fellowshipping the brethren that believed in little g gods. So why can't you guys still fellowship brethren that want musical instruments? Just pass over it. Love covers a multitude of sins. So you are not loving God when you disfellowship them. So you need to love like God and pass over sins. Like, okay, well, again, what you brought up, David, chapter 5, they didn't pass over that. It's in the same list as don't fellowship a brother, fornicators and idolaters. And those that aren't going to inherit the kingdom of God are fornicators and idolaters. So why do you pick and choose? It's because just like the gays church, you just make it up. If you want it, you can make it up.
Maddie commented and said, "Breathe, Jordan, breathe."
Yeah.
Did she comment? Where?
She texted.
Texted.
No,
Yeah.
put it in the chat.
Yeah,
It's
put it in
got
the
to go
chat.
in the chat. All right. Speaking of the chat, let's go over here and see what's going on.
We don't read those anyways.
Yeah, no, we got to keep our chat people happy. Let's see. JC, again, replying to Nick Shipman, idolatry is nothing short of spiritual fornication, and that's exactly how it's described. Man, that would have been a good argument to use in the debate.
Go back!
Yeah.
George Costanza.
Let's run back the tape. Yeah, throughout the Old Testament, constantly, over and over again, Israel is described as an adulterous people because they went after other gods. But now, in the New Testament, and just, I didn't want to bring this up. No, I'm lightly going to bring it up. We'll bring it up heavier in the next episode. But just David's whole illustration about the credit card.
Yeah, and the tires.
Yeah, and the tires.
Then go ahead and buy
Man,
rims.
it's just, oh, man. Oh. Like I said in the debate, that just makes everybody that makes you sound like a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
Well, I know what you said to do, but I wanted to do this. So there's no boundaries
Yeah.
at all, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what we're saying. And so he laid it out very well.
Which is Calvinism.
If I own everything.
JC, again, we are not supposed to say, what? We are not supposed to say anything. Covetous is idolatry. Covetousness is idolatry.
Oh, yeah.
How does that connect? I'm missing it.
Idolatry is nothing short of spiritual fornication, and we are not supposed to say, if we are not supposed to say anything,
all right.
covetousness is idolatry.
Right.
And I had a question about that, too.
Yes.
If idolatry is connected to or covetousness in Colossians, is it 2 at the end?
No,
It's 3.
It's 3:5. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 3:5. Okay, it's like, okay, if covetousness is connected to idolatry, it's like, which is idolatry? It's like, if covetousness is put down so much, why wouldn't idolatry be put down in the same way from Paul, who's writing this, also writing over to Corinth?
Mm-hmm.
But again, David Lopez is saying, well, they're not worshiping the God, and that's his definition of it, is, well, they're not worshiping the God, so they're just acknowledging them. So I can acknowledge covetousness?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. We got another lengthy Facebook one from JC, if you can find it over there and read the full thing for us.
Where?
After his Colossians
Okay.
3:5.
Oh, man, Micah, that one?
Yeah.
Your insight into the young man who had his father's wife is wonderful. Knowing the whole story from 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians shows that to be the wisest of all means of dealing with that sin.
Definitely. And that is, oh man, so that's really the issue, is having to deal with these matters, but dealing with them consistently. And I would argue that is one of the major things that David ran into a problem with in dealing with other brethren and dealing with other congregations. So I'm sure he saw them letting a lot of things slide. But then potentially when it came to him and things that he was doing, they were not letting him get by with it. And thus that ends up pushing you into a position of, well, okay, if this is how we're going to be, then just don't do anything. Don't say anything about anybody. Don't correct anything. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a position of constantly and always having to be correcting something. And in which he stated in the interview, and I acknowledge 100%, that yes, when you start taking this kind of a position from the scriptures as it teaches, you become a watcher. It's just like, it's a natural thing of this is what's going to end up happening. And rightfully so. If sin is out there in the world and we have an adversary who's trying to devour us, and temptation is going to come in, and carnality is going to come in, and fleshliness is going to come in, well, then what should we be doing? Seems like I read in a book somewhere that an inspired writer was constantly saying, be vigilant, be sober, be watchful. Well, what are we doing? You're watching out for yourself, you're watching out for others, and you're watching out for problems. But it is difficult doing that. It is tiring. It is exhausting having to be involved in that kind of stuff. But if we are, so you have elders that are in the position of being, like, they're labeled as shepherds. What kind of watchfulness does a shepherd have to have over his sheep? 24/7, man.
Yep.
They're constantly getting into stuff. They're constantly trying to get out of stuff. And then you've got wolves and coyotes and
It's a
mountain
bad
lions
deal.
and bears. They have got to watch all the time. That gets old fast. But if you care about your sheep, you're going to do it. And thus, that goes back into and granted, I know there's some people that are doing it for the wrong reasons. There are plenty of brethren that, they love to just sit around and watch what brethren are doing to be able to talk about, well, you see what they're doing now. And they're not doing it from a position of, well, look, we want to talk about this so we can correct it, so that we can help you. But to see those kind of situations and start painting everything as though it's just being that thing is not fair to what's actually going on. And then also the other element of it, that if you're going to be involved in doing that kind of stuff, it can get really lonely. And it has the potential of causing some problems because you've got to call things out. Well, that's going to make people angry. It's going to make them mad, and they're going to lash out and act out and do all kinds of things. But it's part of the territory. It's part of what we're supposed to be doing in watching out for ourselves and watching out for others. Trying to think what that was connected back to. Oh, the 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians situation with the young man and his father's wife. Got anything to add on that?
To what you said?
Yeah.
I think I did, and then I lost it.
Oh, sorry.
Should have read down.
Yeah, maybe we'll come back to you. Nick Shipman says this guy, Matt, referencing to Matt Vines. Nick Shipman, JC to Nick Shipman, did Jordan say Slytherin? he did. JC again.
We missed
What?
Trevino. It's not popping up, but he just wrote a bunch of S's.
Oh, yeah, I saw that over here.
All
That
right,
was
yeah.
that was funny. Then JC again, loopholes almost always turn out to be nooses
Hey.
around your neck. Man, stitch that on a
Stitch that
pillow.
on a pillow.
I like that one.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. Somebody needs to write that down.
I'm going to write that down.
Write that down.
Write that down. Write that down.
So then Jason says, this whole episode, Jordan has really outdone himself. Can we expect a spinoff, The Jordan Show? If there is, it needs to have a catchier title.
It'd be something like Jordan's Way. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. Not bad.
Thanks.
That's all right.
He's thought about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Just came to my mind now.
Well, one thing, and if I can say one last thing to bring this to a close, when we're
And in conclusion,
when we're thinking about, with what I was discussing there about how difficult being the watcher is, and so brethren have said, well, who made the Robertsons the Brotherhood Police? Somebody's got to do it, because if you're not doing it in your local area, and you're just allowing things to go on and transpire, so let's go ahead and bring up Aaron Gallagher and his clip just to solidify what we're talking about here and what's going on in all these different congregations out there. Not watching, they're not being careful. this is Aaron Gallagher from GBN, and he's giving a talk somewhere in some congregation. He's talking about some youth group or youth conference that he was involved in, and listen to who shows up.
I went to speak at a youth rally once, and before the youth rally started, one of the preachers there said, hey, just a heads up, the person who's leading singing is from, and they mentioned a very liberal school. I mean, it's Pepperdine, I'll just tell you. And I said, okay, well.
Now, when I was in preaching school, I would have gotten crucified by naming names. It's like, why are you going to name the name? Blah, blah, blah. Aaron Gallagher does it. Nobody says boo. I don't. If you,
Because he played guitar.
Yeah. And it's just like, if that's not partiality, I don't know what is. But anyways, just that, I don't know why. That just really struck me.
What do you know about him? And they said, well, he likes to clap when he leads singing. And I said, well, has anybody talked to him about it yet? And they said, no, I don't think so. And so I went to the elders of that congregation. I said, hey, this is what I heard. Are you aware of this? And they said, well, we might know something about that. I said, well, are you going to talk to him or do you want me to talk to him? And they said, well, you can do it. I said, thanks. So I went up to the young man.
Now, while everybody's laughing, ha, 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 so funny.
It's not funny.
That is not funny at all. That, if we're going to name names on something, I want the name of that congregation, and let's talk to that eldership.
Yep.
What are y'all doing that you know this guy is in here, and who are the ones that are authorizing him to get up there and lead the singing, if not these elders?
Yep. Yeah, we might know.
You know that this guy's coming in and that he has this tendency to do something that's unscriptural, and you're just going to sit back and not do anything about it?
Coming from Pepperdine.
Pepperdine? Go ahead.
And then he says, do you want to do something or should I? Yeah, you can do it. And then everybody laughs that, yeah. So they give it off to him. They don't want to be the bad guys. Like, man, if we're supposed to be thinking about being elders one day, and you're talking about looking over the flock 24/7, that is not what you want. That's not who I want over me. That is absolutely scary.
But that's the state of the brotherhood. Just in that one video. And it's not just the elders, it's everybody.
Yes.
Oh yeah, well, we're just here at this youth conference, and we're here just to glorify God and have a good time, this, that, and the other. We're not going to stir up trouble, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Now, I will give credit to Aaron Gallagher to standing up and doing something. But he's not dealing with the root problem. The root problem is something should have been said and done to that eldership also.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are supposed to be watching out for us, and you are delinquent in your responsibilities. Here I am, Aaron Gallagher, having to stand up and do your work that you're supposed to be doing. So from that standpoint, and I would argue that's the kind of circles that David was running around in, being involved in Freed Hardeman, Apologetics Press, and so on and so forth. That was the kind of brethren he was dealing with. And if that's the kind of brethren that you're having to deal with on a constant basis, I can kind of understand why he would then take the route that he's taking and going after brethren. Because it's hypocrisy. You allow Pepperdine in, and it's just, well, we're not going to do anything. But then you got some little peon over here, like David in a congregation, who doesn't know anybody. He's not connected to any big names. And then he does a little something to step out of line, and you bring the hammer down on him. That is highly inconsistent, highly unjust, and that's the kind of stuff that drives people away. Were you going to say something else, Jordan?
Just that it's because it's about a position. It's about the position of just getting there. It's like, oh, now I'm an elder and I get to sit back and do nothing. It's just like,
manage a checkbook.
What you said to, Ed Meese, these are your constituents, like you're supposed to be working for the people, right? And that's an elder. Is supposed to be working for the people, feeding the flock. And you're not supposed to get in there into that office unless you want the office to take on that responsibility to protect the people from wolves, from whatever. And yeah, that's just...
Seems like the eldership is getting to a point where, like we're saying, it's a position, but you sit there and you're waiting for everyone to come to you. You're not going out there and
There's no
Searching.
proactive.
Yeah, you're not searching for the sheep that are lost. You're waiting for the sheep that are lost to come to you because they know your voice, obviously.
Yeah. And then to add on to that, it's, David is, he's doing this so as to be able to try and keep from having to cut ties. Well, let's just open things up and do anything. As long as you love your neighbor, then that should fix all these problems and we'll just be able to get along. But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in that he's found himself, while he's trying to avoid withdrawing, he's still being withdrawn from to where he's having to separate from the people anyways. So it goes back to one of the things that I've mentioned before, that if you're going to suffer for doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in this category, she's like, well, okay, if the ties are going to be broken, then at least let me be the one breaking the ties over something that is a honest conviction and something that is truly attached to God's word, instead of it being, well, you're just completely out here in left field and now there's just no way that we can actually fellowship with you. So I mean, either way you slice it, either way you cut it, the withdrawal is coming. So it might as well be for the reasons that God says that it needs to be for.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
For what?
Just final thoughts on this episode, and then we can dig into some more of the others, because I've got something from his, I think it's either his third one or his final that I'm wanting to deal with too.
Go ahead, Reese.
I'm about beat.
Okay.
Go back to the Bible.
Yeah.
Don't let people and their big words keep you down. You're not a grasshopper. I'm talking to the mirror. No. But, yeah. Keep up diligently reading your Bible and search the scriptures daily. And don't just take that, as David even said, I'm not just going to take this at face value from anybody. Don't take what David Lopez is saying it from just because he said it, but do your own study. That's it.
Yep. All right. One last thing in the chat. JC, this has been a magnificent broadcast. Thank you, men, for being so dedicated. Yeah, after we've been gone for almost
6
a
weeks.
month.
We're so dedicated.
Some of it was out of our control.
Yeah.
I dropped the computer and had to get it fixed. I'll take the blame on
Had to
on
go
that
pick
one.
Mama up.
Yeah.
So Nick Shipman, old David Lopez. Old David Lopez.
Oh,
Yep.
Lopez.
Hopefully, who knows? Hopefully we can get things straightened out. Only God knows. Only future will tell. All right, if nothing else, then we will go to our outro. It's been another live episode of Back to the Bible broadcast, Sunday night, 7:30 p.m., Facebook and YouTube. Re-aired Saturday nights, 9:30 p.m. If you're in the local area, come out and be with us at the Ronan VFW Hall, Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. We are in John chapter 11, and the plan is for us to move into the book of Acts after we get done with
Perhaps.
John's record of the life of Christ and the gospel. Sunday morning, 10 a.m., then 11, or shortly after that, our worship assembly starts. So come out and be with us. Join us there. If you're not in the local area, but you want to stay up to date with our sermons, be sure to like and follow the Church of Christ of Lake County on Facebook. We live stream our sermons, and we are sharing good information from other sound brethren that we know. So go over there for more Bible study material. We have a YouTube channel for the Church of Christ of Lake County. Subscribe to that and turn on your notifications because we upload our classes. If you're wanting to go through the John study with us, that's where you want to go. Church of Christ of Lake County on YouTube. John studies there, Matthew, 1 Corinthians, Caring to Correct, Ways of the Wanderers. We've got some Proverbs information there also. And as we go into the book of Acts in the future, that will also be on this YouTube channel. Subscribe, turn on notification bells, comment, ask questions over there. We do have a Instagram, nothing going on over there. Contact information. You can email us at coflakecountry@gmail.com. Church of Christ of Lake County @gmail.com. If you're wanting a copy of that book, Baptism Unwatered Down, we will send that to you free of charge if you are not a member of the Church of Christ. And all you have to do is give us your mailing address, and we'll ship it out as quickly as we can. If you want to call us to ask a question or just drop us a line of encouragement, just quick word, keep it up, so on and so forth, please feel free to do that. You can call me at 434-429-5221.
Or call me at 406-499-1745.
Or me at 406-241-4667.
All right. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff across all the platforms, because we want to hear from you. We want to try to help you in your Bible study as best as we can, and all we can give you is what the Scriptures say. That's the best that we can do, and that's all that we're trying to do. So we hope that you've had a great Lord's Day today. We thank you for tuning in tonight. Fellas, thank you for being here this evening to help out with this broadcast. And
Thank you.
And everybody in the chat, appreciate you very much. You, as we say all the time, you help bring new insights, different things that we're not considering because our brains are on a certain track as we're going through this material. And you are a great asset to the broadcast. Thank you for being involved with us and engaging. So have a great rest of your evening. Hope that you have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Back to the Bible broadcast. Have a great night, and God